Okay, welcome. This is a forum for the 2 city commissioner positions that are open for Sault Ste. Marie.
3.
There are 3 seats?
Correct.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we're done.
Yeah.
There's one that's already full.
That is not on the website for the city. Okay, well, there isn't anything about this on the website for the
It is
city.
on
Call the
vote
manager.
411, it says vote 43.
Vote for 3.
Yes,
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize.
that's okay.
By introduction, I'm Linda Stetzer, and I'm the moderator for this forum this evening. I do not vote in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, so this is sponsored by the League of Women Voters, which is a political, non-partisan organization that's dedicated to having everyone possible vote and be well informed about your voting. We thank all 3 candidates who are joining us at this forum. And the League established the format for this forum, the National League. If you've ever, the League has moderated presidential campaigns as well as, or debates, as well as local forums. There were rules that were given out to everyone in the audience when you came in. So for the audience, please remain silent during the forum. Turn off your cell phones. Refrain from making any vocal reaction to anything said by any candidate. Refrain from applause until the entire forum is concluded. Do not take photos or record this forum in any part thereof, and do not display any campaign literature, buttons, or clothing. You can have your own clothing on, but...
Please. Thank God.
Campaign literature, okay? Thank you. Candidates, please answer questions as presented to you and do not interrupt another candidate. You will all have an opportunity to answer every question. A place has been provided in the lobby area for your campaign literature. Questions have been submitted by the audience. If you didn't get a card, just raise your hand. John Schaefer is our page, and he will be happy to share a card with you. Also, there are pens and pencils in there. Megan Kelly is screening our questions for appropriateness and for lack of redundancy and those kind of things. Okay, candidates in alphabetical order will have 1 1/2 minutes for an opening statement, and in reverse alphabetical order at the end, 2 minutes for a closing statement. Candidates will have 1 1/2 minutes to answer each question in rotation, and our timer is Gabe Masulis. Did I get that right? The candidates tonight are Jay Gage, Don Gary, and Brent Osterhout. As a deviation from our usual procedures, the League of Women Voters of the Eastern Upper Peninsula made a decision to allow Mr. John Surruck's opening statement be read by the League member Les Townsend, who also does not vote in the city. So we will begin opening statements with Mr. Gage.
All right, well, I want to start by thanking everybody for coming tonight. It's a rainy night, and so I understand that it's not necessarily the most fun thing to come and listen to 3 guys talk about the future of our city, but it's clear that you care a lot about the city, and I do too. So I want to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on. It's a great chance for us to talk about the future of our city. And I think that the biggest thing that we need to think about is where we're going to be 10, 15, 20 years down the road. I think that Sault Ste. Marie is on the precipice of greatness. I think that given our geographical location, being 1 hour from 3 Great Lakes, being across the river from 70,000 people, and having a university that's vibrant and active, there's no reason why we shouldn't be more active and vibrant than communities like Marquette or Traverse City. And I'm committed to doing everything I can as a commissioner to helping us get there. And I believe in the future of Sault Ste. Marie. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Gary.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming, and thank you to the League of Women Voters for putting this forum on.
My name is Don Gary. I'm a fourth generation Sault Ste. Marie resident. I was born and raised here and left to go downstate to make my fortune and fame. And since I didn't do that, I got my education. I came back to Sault Ste. Marie and I've been here since 1991. This is a great place to live and to raise our families, and I'm proud to have been a city commissioner for the last 8 years, and certainly here with some very qualified candidates and some good individuals, and we appreciate your time. Sault Ste. Marie is probably the best city, poised to grow like crazy. We've got a lot going on. We've got new city management, administration, and we've got a very strong commission. So it's an exciting time for Sault Ste. Marie, and we're all very, very pleased to be a part of it. And I appreciate these two gentlemen stepping forward to run and volunteer to be city commissioners.
Thank you. Mr. Osterholt.
Once again, thank you to the League of Women Voters and all present. I myself am a lifetime resident of Sault Ste. Marie. I left for 6 years when I was in the service, came back to raise my children. I've been here, I've been very active with the community since the 80s when I did move back through the music in the park. We did the Sulaks Festival, and that was active. I am currently on the Community Services Board as well. I love Sault Ste. Marie. I would like to get in the office, and actually I have some great ideas. I think I can help Sault Ste. Marie grow. And as this gentleman said, we do have a lot of potential, and we're just a diamond in the rough. We have a new city manager who is doing an awesome job, and I think under his guidance that Sault Ste. Marie has nothing but to do but some great growth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wes?
I'm speaking for John Sirach, not necessarily myself. So I want to express my sincere gratitude to League of Women Voters for enabling me to be heard at this debate. I have a previously scheduled appointment as part of my duties as a Cloverland Electric Board member. Sadly, Sault Ste. Marie is a community on decline. I say this not to degrade my hometown, but rather to point out the obvious. School enrollments are declining. Sault Township has seen tremendous growth as residents and businesses leave the Sault to build there. Do not be misled by believing a new Myers store means the local economy is on the rebound. Yes, I am glad to see Myers built here, but how many smaller businesses will be negatively impacted? I've seen it time and again as a local electrical utility engineer. One business arrives, others close. We should ask ourselves not how much the city have to give in the form of tax incentives to attract them. On whose shoulders will the burden of the lost tax revenues fall? The homeowner or the small businessman doesn't get a tax break. While other communities like Marquette and Gaylord are growing, ours is seeing an exodus of people and businesses. 30 years ago, planners built a new city water pumping station for a city of 60,000. Predicting a population of 30,000 by the year 2000. Instead, Sault Ste. Marie's population has steadily declined and just over 14,000.
You just got stopped.
Oh, we're out of time?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll now enter the questioning period, and we will start with Mr. Gary. The first question is, if you could change or improve one thing in Sault Ste. Marie, what would it be?
If I could change or improve one thing in Sault Ste. Marie, I would like to change our funding situation. Not from a physical asset perspective, but all the cities in Michigan have seen a decline in funding over the last 10 or 15 years. And I would like to see an increase in funding from the state of Michigan and more participation from them so that we could embark on some more of the goals that we have set. We as a commission sit down every year and have goal-setting sessions to look at different improvements that we'd like to make. Some of them are waterfront walkway, a lot of them are street improvements, and we lack some of the resources. We have done very well in planning, and we have a 6-year improvement, capital improvement plan that we're following to make sure that we can make improvements and stay within budget. but we need to see some improvement in the state's funding sources. So that'll conclude my answer.
Thank you, Mr. Geary. Mr. Osterhout, the same question.
What I would like to see improved in this city, and of course it goes back to funding, is I'd like to see more parks, more bike trails. It's hard to attract businesses to town if you do not have the fundamentals in place where you can attract these businesses, because businesses that come to town with young professionals with the thought that they may leave within 2 years because of the fact they do not have anything to do inside the city of Sault Ste. Marie. We have lots of resources available to us as far as the trails and everything else, but it would just be nice to be able to get the funding, like Mr. Geary said, to be able to do those things. I know that the city master plan has been updated, and we do have bike trails in the master plan and with more parks as well. That would be what I would like to do, is build a foundation where we could attract more business to this town and more young professionals.
Thank you. Mr. Gage, the same question.
So I really like both their answers, and kind of building off of them. One of the things that's so difficult to do is when you're sitting down and you're making these decisions as a city commissioner is making decisions about investments in our infrastructure with an ever dwindling budget to do it. And so that's where I think that one of the things that I'm hoping changes and becomes a bigger part of our city is better integration between the campus and the community, and having that partnership and that relationship be the driving force that changes our community for years to come. We can do this by updating our master plan and consolidating it and coordinating it with the university's master plan, which is a process that's already happening, and making some key investments into small things that are going to attract more people, which will create a snowball effect and will lead to improvements for years to come. So I guess the short answer is just investing in our infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Gage. The next question is, do you support an accessible walkway or bike path on the Sault Ste. Marie waterfront? As commissioner, what would you do to make this possible? And we'll begin with Mr. Osterhout.
Yes, I do support walkways and bike paths along the waterfront. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of waterfront available to us. So that's actually where we're hindered in a sense, because we do not have that waterfront available to us. And in the sense that if we were able to get some property owners to allow us to do that, we'd actually have to go towards grants and hopefully get grants. If we have that in our master plan, we can actually request grants to have those things done. And I think that's probably the only way we really could fund right now without putting a burden on taxpayers, is just by going after grant money.
Thank you. Mr. Gage, same question.
Absolutely, I do. And I think that one of the things when we talk about waterfront, I think that one of the most underutilized waterfronts that we have in our town is along the Power Canal. That's been on the City Commission goals, is to put a walkway along that since 1937, and that's only this year we've put money in to do a feasibility study to see if that's even possible or not. And so my vision for a waterway walkway would be to begin on Ford Street and go to Ashman Street and begin that little chunk. And eventually have it be along the entire Power Canal, so it would snake up to the hydroelectric power plant and then go all the way down to Ashman Bay, which I think would really revitalize those neighborhoods and revitalize their entire city. So that's the direction I'm going when it comes to walkways, waterfront walkways, and I think that'd be a great plan, and I'm doing everything possible to get that done. And by that I mean I bother Oliver Turner with emails to get that done.
Thank you, Mr. Gage. Mr. Gary, same question.
Every year when we have goal setting, this seems to be a topic of discussion, and it has been recommended to do a waterfront walkway along the St. Mary's River, which would be great, but I think there are some problems, as Mr. Osterhout said. But this year in goal setting, we did set as a goal and voted as a commission to move forward with a study to do a walkway along the Power Canal. And I am fully supportive, and I think that everybody was there, put a dot on that plan to find out what we could do to facilitate that and what kind of funding sources we could have, and certainly it would be accessible to all within the public. And I agree with Mr. Gage's comments to make the city more walkable and to tie everything together. Some of the walkways are a little bit willy-nilly right now, but we need to have a more walkable community, and I think it's going to be a great project.
Thank you. The next question, what in your background qualifies you to be a city commissioner? And we'll start with Mr. Gage.
Well, I've had a very exciting career as a college student. For 2 years, I served as the president of the statewide student government. And one of the things that allowed me to do is to visit all the 15 public universities in the cities that they live in. And being a municipal government nerd that as I am, I'd usually stop into a city hall and have a conversation with those cities about what they've got going on and their plans. And so seeing different communities around the state and studying that kind of stuff really has opened my eyes to the possibilities of what we can do here in Sault Ste. Marie. And so I guess given that background, that helps me to know where we can possibly be and to attract those ideas and to bring in those resources and those thoughts and those plans from those different communities. So.
Thank you. Mr. Gary, the same question.
Well, I love this community. I've lived here for a long time. I want to raise my kids here, and I want them to be able to raise their kids here. As far as the educational background, I have an accounting degree. Since the time I came back to the city, I volunteered extensively. I've been in leadership positions in Rotary and Chamber of Commerce and United Way and Sioux Historic Sites, and I have been very, very involved in this community. And for the last 8 years, I've been able to serve as a city commissioner for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. And during my service, I have jumped in along with the other commissioners and the mayor to be educated by Michigan Municipal League, to learn about management of a city. And my day job also parallels, because I am a director for a governmental unit, and our goal is to increase quality of life in rural America. And we cover 33 counties, and we counsel cities, governments on this type of movement. So it really is a good parallel. I have a good background, strong background for this type of service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Osterhout, the same question.
I have been in leadership roles since my young life. I was a leading petty officer in the Navy. When I got out, I worked for the post office for 25 years, in which I retired from there. I was in management positions there as well, so I've always been very familiar with leading people and guiding people, and now I'm a small business owner in Sault Ste. Marie as well. And so I think that I'm very well qualified to run and give a vision to this city, and I think that's what we need a lot of, is vision. And being a lifetime resident here, I have been here for the good times and the bad times. I've been here when downtown Sault Ste. Marie was bustling on a Tuesday or Friday night, and I would like to see that again. And so I have vision, and with my past leadership skills, I think that I have a good foundation for leading Sault Ste. Marie into the future.
Thank you. Next question. Other than big box stores, what type of business do you most want to attract to the Sioux? And we will begin with Mr. Gary.
Other than big box stores, what type of business?
Yes.
I think that the foundation of the study that was done on Maloney's Alley really is good for communities. With our participation in the Michigan Municipal League, I think you will learn that big box stores, although have much value, there is more value created for a community in mixed-use development buildings, such as the one that was just redone downtown in Sault Ste. Marie, on the corner of the old Central Savings Bank building, which has retail on the downstairs and apartments upstairs. Per square acre foot, they actually contribute much more value and revenue to the city coffers, and typically will employ more people than the big boxes do. I think the big boxes to us are bringing tax base and they're bringing jobs, and it's exciting to see, but we do need to develop our downtown more and bring in some different unique boutiques type stores, and develop some more mixed use in the area.
Thank you. Mr. Osterhout.
To start off with, I think that what I would like to see first is actually attracting more manufacturing businesses in town. We have Precision Edge, we have AMI, we have Hoover Industrial, we have the R&B Electronics. Those are great businesses to attract to town, because that gives you good wages for young professionals, and if you build that good base for manufacturing inside Sault Ste. Marie, you will attract other businesses as well. And I'm with Mr. Gary as far as attracting businesses downtown, because I've been witness to what we used to have in Sault Ste. Marie, and we really do need to rebuild our downtown. And the biggest box stores do have their place inside any community, but I would still like to see the revibrance of smaller businesses in town. But I think if we bring manufacturing to town, that those will follow.
Thank you. Mr. Gage, the same question.
I think that in the future of Sault Ste. Marie, we need to attract more tech startups and those types of things. Utilizing our Smart Zone and our Economic Development Corporation, if we can recruit in small startup businesses that are on the cutting edge of technology and innovation and advancing the different processes that are going to change life for the future. I think if we can bring those here and keep them here, we'll be able to give our students from Sault High on up to Lake State a place to go once they get their certification and their degree. So I think utilizing our Smart Zone, our Economic Development Corporation, in the different things we can to recruit those businesses is one thing I think is crucial to the future of our city.
Thank you. Next question. How do you feel large business growth would impact our city? And we'll begin with Mr. Osterhout.
I think that large business growth would definitely be a positive thing for Sault Ste. Marie because what we lack is tax base. If we have larger businesses come to town, I think that it could be just a win-win situation. And as I just said in the previous question, is that if you attract larger businesses, that's going to bring more wages to Sault Ste. Marie, which includes going to bring more tax base, and hopefully it'll bring some tax relief to each and individual, resident in Sault Ste. Marie by having businesses paying taxes, more individuals and everything else in paying taxes. So I think that bringing bigger businesses to town would be a win-win for us.
Thank you. Mr. Gage.
I'm fully in support of bringing in bigger businesses and watching the city grow that way. But I think one of the things that we need to stay cognizant of as a commission as that process moves forward is if you look at some of the cities in northern Michigan that have experienced great growth, they've kind of priced their citizens out of their city a little bit. If you think about how fun it is to visit Traverse City and how nice and vibrant it is, and it's great. It's incredibly expensive to visit there, and unfortunately, it's incredibly expensive to live there. And so I think that while business grows, we need to keep an eye on and see if wages are growing right along with it. Because I want to make sure that we're a town that you can live in. I think that's the best quality we have as a city. Is that we're a town you can live in. We're a town that you're proud to call your hometown. So I wouldn't want to price our citizens out of living here. But I'm all in support of businesses coming in and growing our business community.
Thank you. Mr. Gary.
I think it's our responsibility as commissioners and community residents to create an environment that businesses can grow and thrive. But I also think that we as a commission need to set the course and with the citizen involvement on what type of growth we want to have. And that's why we're going through the master planning process right now. Large business, that's a very vague or ambiguous question, because if it were a huge company coming in or something that was not what we would see as suitable for Sault Ste. Marie, no. But certainly we're very interested in seeing our community grow. We're very interested in seeing the right businesses come to town, seeing the right mix of business, and we want to see our economy grow so that, as all three of us have said, that so that people come back and people come to Sault Ste. Marie to live and they can have jobs here.
Thank you. Next question. What do you see as the relationship between the city of Sault Ste. Marie and the Sioux tribe, and how would you utilize the 2% funds? And we'll begin with Mr. Gage.
Well, I think that the city of Sault Ste. Marie and the Sioux tribe have obviously had a somewhat strained relationship in the past, but I think that as it currently stands, we've got a pretty good relationship, a pretty good partnership. And I think that in regards to 2% funds, it's kind of a tough issue because we can't fully, as a commission, push them to do what we want with those monies, but we can suggest things. And I think that using the 2% money for recreational investments, possibly for the walkway, for Sherman Park renovations and things like that, I think that's the best way that we can properly use those funds.
Thank you. Mr. Gary, same question.
I think we have an excellent relationship with the Sioux tribe. I think that a good example of that is the Sioux tribe just hooked up to the city water and sewer system so that they could use it for their Odenong development out on Shunk Road, and that'll bring a lot of users onto the city's system, and it will be good for all, because the more users we have, the less our costs are. As far as the 2% money, we use that for roads, and that is a predetermined purpose that we use it for. And without that money from the tribe, we would not have even the quality of the roads that we have today. The other thing that the tribe does for us is we're able to identify certain roads within the community as Department of Interior roads, and we also get funding from the Department of Interior. And without the tribe's relationship, we would not have any of that. So I look forward to continuing our great relationship with the tribe. And we do have a committee consisting of the mayor and the mayor pro tem that are very active in meeting with the Sioux Tribe chairperson. So.
Thank you. Mr. Osterhout, the same question.
And then again, I mirror both of the commissioners as far as our relationship with the tribe. I think that we've had a great relationship to it, and I think the tribe has actually brought value to Sault Ste. Marie in having the casino here in town, because it does attract visitors, and also with the 2% money with the funding for the roads and everything else. So I think that the 2% funding for the roads is probably something we'd still like to continue, because our roads still are, some roads are still in tough shape. So I think that just to continue the 2% going towards the roads would be a good idea. And I have nothing else to say.
Thank you. Next question. We have a tax or duty-free zone. Has it ever been used? How or why not? And we begin with Mr. Gary.
Can I defer?
I did that.
Tax or duty-free zone, I'm not totally aware of what exactly we're talking about there. I guess we're talking about the free trade zone.
I just read
I'm glad you were first at this one.
Yeah. I'm stymied, so great question. What was it again, tax or duty-free zone? Have we?
We have a tax or duty-free zone. Has it ever been used? How or why not?
I really honestly don't know. We'll research that and look at what we do. That's not something that has been on the forefront of my thought process in the last 8 years. You stumped me.
Thank you. Mr. Osterhout.
Yeah, then again, I'm not really sure as to what they're looking for as far as asking the question as far as the tax-free or a duty-free zone. So I think I would like to have a little bit more clarification before actually even answering that question as to what they're seeking for an answer.
Mr. Gage.
I really look forward to researching it after this. It's written down.
Thank you. Next question. As a commissioner, you will receive a salary from tax funds. Do you see yourself as accountable to taxpayers by reporting to them? And if so, how will you accomplish that? And we will begin with Mr. Osterhout.
Yes, we do receive a salary for a small salary for what we do. But yes, I do feel accountable. I've always been highly service oriented. And as your commissioner, I will definitely answer to timely answers to your responses if you have any questions for me, and I will get the answers for you because I'm in this position. I realize the importance of being in the city commissioner, and if I am elected, I will definitely take care of any questions or any concerns that you do have.
Thank you. Mr. Gage.
I do. I feel incredibly accountable, and one of the things that I've done as a commissioner for the last 6 months, prior to being a commissioner, and especially during this campaign, is giving out my personal cell phone number so that people can call me, they can text me, they can email me, they can send me a Facebook message. I want to be as accessible as possible so that if you do have a concern, you have a comment, you have a question, you hit a pothole and you just took a picture with your iPhone, I want to know about it, you can send it to me and I can hear about it. And the thing that's tough is this being that this is not a full-time thing, it's a part-time thing. It is difficult to fully get back to somebody immediately because all of us do have day jobs. So that is tough, but I try and get back to folks as quick as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Gary?
I agree. We are highly accountable. I'm accessible at any time. We go to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of meetings during the year, so we're accessible in town, all around town. I too have a cell phone. I can be texted. I can be called at home. I've had people stop at home. We are available at any time of any day. I'm at the hockey rinks. I'm just about everywhere. As far as the money, if it were not a paid position, I would still be sitting here. And I can tell you that the amount of time that we put in and the amount of time we spend away from our families, it's a net negative gain. The money is just about enough to pay for our campaign every 4 years. And I appreciate that, but we're very highly accountable to taxpayers, and I think I've been very transparent over the last 8 years.
Thank you. Next question. We have all three of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
How will you make the city more sustainable financially, economically, and environmentally? And we will begin with Mr. Gage.
So let me just put that. Financially,
Economically, and environmentally.
Well, so in terms of financially, I think one of the best things that we do as a commission, and I was lucky enough to be part of the process, is when we go through the city budget, we look at it line item by line item by line item, and we have very written out procedures that really guide us when we make every budget decision, and those were made through some very sound moments of wisdom and some tougher years that I'm sure Don experienced back in his early days on the commission. So in terms of financially stable, we as a commission, we do a great job, I think, of really looking at every line item, questioning a lot of the expenditures, and keeping us on the right track. Economically, I think that comes with ensuring that we have a good vision for the future, like Brent said, and recruiting new businesses and making it so that we can keep our young people here. I think that's something that we aren't the strongest in, but we're moving towards, and we're moving in the right direction. In terms of environmentally, I think that in general we do a great job. We're blessed to have a hydroelectric power plant that is incredibly environmentally sustainable. Looking at some of the things that we do with our wastewater treatment plant, we don't produce a lot of unnecessary waste and pollution out of that. And we do a lot to maintain our natural resources in town. So I think that covered all three, and yeah, done.
Thank you. Mr. Gary?
Whoever asked that question is very bright. I was at a conference yesterday and today actually on creating entrepreneurial communities, and I went to a session that was called Sustainability, and those are the three tenets of sustainability: financial, economic, environmental. We had quite a discussion on EPA's version of what that pie looks like from financial, economic, environmental towards people maybe like me that have finance and accounting backgrounds and look at it. I think every single decision that we make and every single plan that we venture into as a city needs to take a look at all three of the tenets of sustainability, which are the financial, economic, environmental, and we need to measure those out and balance them. You can't let one side tip the scale too far one direction or the other. You have to do it in a sustainable fashion that's good for all three: the finances, the economics, the environment, and take all of that into consideration. And that's why we have diverse backgrounds on the commission and in the administration, so that we can look at it from different angles. As I said, I'm a finance kind of guy, but I have learned a lot from the people that have a little bit different perspective and more environmental perspective. And we learn, we work together, and we come to common consensus on what mix of those we should look at in creating our sustainable community.
Thank you. Mr. Osterhout?
I think with the finances, I think the city of Sault Ste. Marie has done a pretty good job, because we are limited with our finances, and we have a great, in my vision, we have a great town now. Would like to see it better? Yes, we would. As far as economics go, I think those go hand in hand with the economics of it is following the budget and hopefully attracting more businesses into town for economical sustainability. And environmentally, EPA, as Don was saying, does a pretty good job of keeping things in check. We have abundant natural resources around here, and that's why a lot of us live here for that reason. And I would never want to see that change. I love Sault Ste. Marie for our ruralness and everything else, and I would never want to see the environment be impacted by anything decisions that we made.
Thank you. Next question is do you have any plans for expanding the water system that Sault Ste. Marie has, and what would be the process? And we will begin with Mr. Gary.
I don't have any particular plans. Of course, we've been working very hard on the separation of the sewer system that was mandated by the federal government. And anytime that you make improvements and add improvements to a system, there's some debt involved. And there is a very carefully mapped out future for our water and sewer system components as to when our debt drops off, when we can take on new debt and not have an adverse effect on the user's rates. We do have some needs in the future with both the water and the sewer. And if you talk about additions to the water, I think the hookup for the Odenong subdivision is a great example of us hooking up to the water system, because we could add 100 or more users onto the water system. Certainly, the administration would look at any opportunities to hook up other outlying areas to add more users, because that would add efficiencies to the system and it would bring other rates down. Our rates are based on many, many different variables, but one of them is use. And the more use we have, ironically, the rate will come down. So, more users, the better.
Thank you. Mr. Osterhout.
I think the city has already done a great job at expanding and actually improving our water system with the new water treatment plant and the improvements to the water sewage treatment plant as well. With the CSO projects that we have and are nearing completion, with the new water systems that have been put in place for the residents and the new lines and everything else, and there is a lot more improvements to be made, but I think that we've done very well, and I continue to support any improvements in the water system in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Gage.
Well, the two of them have already kind of touched on the CSO work and maintenance, and with that being mandated, that's something that has to happen, and it's a good thing. I think that one of the things that we're blessed to have in Sault Ste. Marie is an amazing water treatment plant. And it was one of the best parts of the new commissioner orientation tour, not initiation, that I got to. Well, to some extent it was. I mean, I got to tour the plant, and I lucked out, and we got on a day that they were replacing some components in the filter, and the filters are about 2 stories deep, and I got to go down in my suit, dressed nice, down a ladder, and into the basement of this filter. And it was incredibly eye-opening to see actually what goes into making the clean, delicious water that we drink here. And so it was a great experience, and I think that we've got great water here. So that's just my 10 cents.
Thank you. Are there any more questions on cards that need to be submitted? What will you do about all the empty storefronts in the downtown area? And we will begin with Mr. Osterhout.
I think that, I'm trying to be careful is what I say. There's certain business owners, or let's say landlords in town, that have made it very difficult for Sault Ste. Marie to actually have a nice looking downtown storefront. That individual has made it very difficult for the city as far as being delinquent in his taxes and not doing upkeep of the building that we would like to see. He owns a lot of buildings downtown, so with taking that in mind, I think that we'd really like to start looking at taking steps to start making landowners and property owners in the downtown area accountable for their properties, and start making steps to actually have them improve those properties through ordinances, which has been a sticky situation with landowners as it is as far as landlords and everything else. But it's unfortunate that we have some individuals that make it very difficult for our downtown to look attractive. And so I'd like to see some ordinances and some steps put in place in the future to hold landowners accountable.
Thank you. Mr. Gage?
I can't say that I disagree with anything that Brent said, and I think that one of the biggest things that we've got going for us is we've got a great, fantastic Downtown Development Authority Director who could be doing a lot more to go and recruit businesses. Unfortunately, with how strapped he is and how busy his schedule is, he's not free to go and recruit as many businesses. I'd like to see that change, and I'd like to see him target some businesses in town that could be asked to recruit to move downtown. I think another great component of that is a DDA-initiated project in which they offered mini grants to help with facade replacement. And I think that some of our best-looking buildings downtown were part of those grants. So for case in point, like Harmony Health Foods replaced their awning, and it looks incredible now. Hungry Howie's replaced their torn, ripped-apart awning, and it looks a lot better. So doing those sorts of things and attracting businesses by beautifying the other buildings of existing owners is important. Additionally, I think that it's tough sometimes when you see certain businesses you don't think quite fit in our downtown, because as a commission it's not really our place to say which businesses can and can't be in our downtown chaps. But I think trying to recruit better businesses to be in our more accessible, more consumer-based businesses is important.
Thank you. Mr. Carey?
I think that both candidates had good comments, and I think it's a two-pronged approach. One is the Blight Committee is doing a good job at addressing the problems with some of the businesses. I know that Commissioner Shimmons is in the audience, and she serves on the Blight Committee. The Blight Committee was brought to fruition from actually the Michigan Municipal League. The city manager watched a thing on that and came and brought it to the city, and it's been very successful in eradicating some of the blight. But in addition to enforcement, I think, as Jay Gage said, that we have a great DDA director, and I think he's creative, and I think we need to create opportunities for businesses to come to town. We need to have some incubator zones to bring people to town, for people to start businesses. And I think the facade program that he was talking about was a great idea. When I worked in banking 20 years ago, all the banks had an arrangement, and for any business that would fix up their facade, they would charge them a low rate loan with attractive rates and terms. So I think we need to make programs available through the DDA that they can access to fix up their buildings. We've got 5 successes right now, as Jay said, fixing up downtown, and it looks fantastic. That and the new roadway. So, and Justin's doing a good job at trying to attract businesses downtown as well.
Thank you. We'll now have the 2-minute closing statements, which will begin with Mr. Osterhout.
Once again, I want to thank you for all coming, and we just touched a little bit on the things I would like to see happen at Sault Ste. Marie. We talk about business and everything else, but we all have to realize that we still are a tourist-based town right now. We rely heavily on our tourists. I would like to make this town a little bit more tourist-friendly. I recently was getting on the website, just trying to find some place, something about the music in the park. And I would like to see where we have a website where every community member, every organization could actually go to one site to put their events on there, so we can have, when our visitors come to town, they can actually see what we have going on inside the city of Sault Ste. Marie, either being music in the park, our historical homes down on the waterfront. The waterfront, they just finished with all the plaques on the backside you can't see from the road. It would be nice to have a road map for our visitors to come and see, and actually have some, so they can take advantage of everything, because a lot of times it's just hard to find when you're a visitor coming to town. And so I'd like to see a website where we can actually see, or send our visitors to one site where they can see everything going on inside the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Another thing I would like to work on, as Jay was saying earlier, with the university and the city starting to work closely together, I would like to see that expand with the vocational classes inside the Sault area high school. And then go from that to work with the manufacturing plants that we have in town now, where not every child is high school material or is college material. So maybe getting them trained so they can go right into a Precision Edge or AMI or some of that with little or no training, and it would make it very attractive for businesses in the future to come as well. And the same thing with the university, with our college students graduating engineering degrees or whatnot, and placing them in jobs locally and them not having to go elsewhere to do that. So that would be my vision to actually see in the future where we can get our community work closely with our schools.
Thank you. Mr. Gary, closing statement.
We are a city located within the state of Michigan, which has had tremendous economic burden over the last decade or more. But Sault Ste. Marie has sustained itself. Sault Ste. Marie has maintained its population. We have not decreased in population as much as most UP communities. We are a community with a lot of breadth. We're a community with a lot of heart. And we're a community with tons and tons of assets. I can't tell you how many times I travel to other communities and talk about Sault Ste. Marie, and they are jealous. They are envious of what we have and the opportunities that we have. We have an educational system. We have a community college at Bay Mills. We have a Lake Superior State University. We have a state university, one of the few in the state. Everybody would love to have that. We have a regional hospital. A lot of the hospitals across the UP are critical access hospitals. They're not even full service hospitals. We have over 800 employees at the hospital. We have an airport in town. I know that that's a point of contention to some, but that attracts business. This airport is used by some of the larger businesses. It's used extensively, much more than you even realize. And right now the city's going to start promoting that a little bit more. We have nature, we have multimodal transportation availability, we have a deep water port, we have a highway that comes into town, we have train tracks that come into town, we have an international airport, we have a small airport. We have more assets than any town or any community or any area of the state than I can think of. People talk about Traverse City, they got nothing on us. We have the freshest, purest water. We have a great commission, and we're going to have a great commission this coming year after you vote. We're going to continue going forward, we're going to continue planning, and we've got, right now, I can't even think of a better administrative officer with Oliver and all of the administrative staff that we have at the city. We are poised to be one of the best stories in Michigan.
Thank you. Mr. Gage.
I couldn't agree more with what both the candidates have said, and I think that one of the best parts of getting appointed back in April and spending 6 months on the commission is really fully realizing the importance of having a mix of commissioners with different backgrounds, different thoughts, different philosophies. And I can tell you that the people sitting here at this table have the vision and the best intentions for Sault Ste. Marie at heart. And I think that we've all got great ideas, and while we might disagree on some things here and there, I think at the end of the day, we're all going to be moving forward as a community. I wasn't born in Sault Ste. Marie. I was a Sault High graduate. I moved here when I was in high school. And I think that one of the most important things that has taught me is that it doesn't matter where you're born, it matters where you're from. And I love the fact that I'm from Sault Ste. Marie. It's a badge of honor, it's a point of pride, and I brag about it every chance I get. This community has offered me so many things, and has shown me a lot of things. It's full of people who will go the extra mile to help you move. They'll tease you if you do something stupid as a kid, but they're always got your back. And I think that's the most important thing to remember in all of this, is that our community is full of great people and we've got a heck of a lot of potential. So I look forward to continuing to serve if I'm so lucky to be elected, and I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes tonight's forum for City Commissioner. I invite the audience to demonstrate your appreciation with a rousing round of applause. Thank you to our League of Women Voters team, Megan Kelly, Dave Supers, John Schaefer, and Les Thompson. Remember to vote on November 3rd. If you're interested in more information about the League of Women Voters, see one of our members. If you're not registered to vote, unfortunately, you won't be able to vote in the November election, but you will be able to vote in the next one after that, and we have voter registration forms right here. Thank you for attending this forum.
Thank you.
Thank you.